And we've actually got an incredible guest this week, Dr. Csilla Veress, that I met at True North Health Facility when I did my 10-day water fast last year. And most people, when they go into doing a water fast, it's very activating to think, oh my God, I'm not going to eat anything. Am I going to be hungry? How's my body going to react? And I've had so many questions about that. I thought this week I would get somebody in who's got just such a wealth of knowledge and can give us so much information about, the processes that are actually going on in the physical body. Because I think once our mind knows, once our left brain understands what's going on, then we can kind of like settle into our body and we can relax into the process, and we can, allow that kind of that fear or that like unknowing to really settle, and we can be with what's going on, and then we can really get the most out of it. And we can really, True North Health Facility, she's a craniosacral therapist as well. And I sat in one of her lectures and I was just in awe of the way that she holds herself and the things that she talks about. And I really feel like I have a sister for life in her. So I'm going to bring you in. So we spoke a little bit about the rhythm of cleansing and the rhythm of the body and the way that this works. And I wanted you to speak a little bit about the process of cleansing, of water fasting, and how our body really reacts to it.
Yeah, definitely. So, water fasting or cleansing actually dates back so many centuries. We have so many different texts that show it's something that is so ingrained and intuitive within us. I think what you said was so powerful in the sense that modern world doesn't allow for that as much anymore, for us to get deep into what our bodies need. And so there's different stages we can look at how this can play out. Number one is, doing something on a more daily basis. And what I mean by that is more like intermittent fasting, where we're reducing caloric load based upon, right, how our modern landscape is looking. And then also, I think you can even kind of segue in that our immune health as well. When we fast, there is such a beautiful upregulation of our immune system. So during this time, especially during this time, there is this natural there's this natural tendency, if we listen to our bodies, to probably go into more cleansing states so that we're getting our bodies super prepared and super healthy as well. But then if we look at it as a whole too, and I think this is something that you do as well, is that, our bodies in cycle of life go through different stages of cleansing as well. And we in the springtime, for instance, as we're getting ready for the richness of summer, we naturally would like to go through different cleanses. Same idea in the fall, believe it or not. As we go into like this hibernating energy, we want to be in a more cleansed state after that really abundance that we go through. So it's seasonal. Like I said, it could be even a daily thing now because of the fact that we live more like kings and queens, where we're really over abundance of food and drink. And so we can do like intermittent fasting where we're skipping meals and that sort of thing. And then our bodies, right? Like we have this a beautiful circadian pattern that works within our system. And we're now finding that fasting can help us sleep. Fasting can regulate our hormonal system as well. And we naturally used to do it. We've gotten away from it. So there is this natural balance that comes back in to our systems when we do it consistently.
And then I also wanted you to speak a little bit about the amount of water that people should drink during the day. I've been suggesting like half your pound body weight in fluid ounces. Can you speak a little bit about that and not over drinking too much water?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in a 24-hour fast where you're doing dinner to dinner, that is a fantastic recommendation, by the way. I just want to say that that's a fantastic recommendation. We recommend anywhere from 40 to 90 ounces. And so, and you can be very specific about that and do half your body weight in water. Interestingly enough, I will be honest, in a 24-hour water fast, you don't have to be as concerned about drinking too much water, only because of the fact that you're going to be getting electrolytes in on that dinner schedule. Where that really lies, where you have to be super specific about not getting too much water in too fast, is when people start to go into prolonged fasting. And that is because in those prolonged states, you really start switching more and more into ketosis. So at a 24-hour fast, you're in ketosis and you're actually moved into that process. But as you get longer in your fast, you are absolutely going to be shifting your physiological kind of interplay on how the electrolytes are balanced. And so it is much more important in a long-term prolonged fast, anything above 3 days, which, you know, those are not something that you'd be doing on a weekly or a monthly basis. Those are things that you want to be doing maybe once a season, maybe even once a year type thing. That is where you're going to need to really pay mind to how much water you're taking in. So you're not taking in too little and causing a lot of dehydration. You're not causing electrolyte imbalance with too much. But with a 24-hour, if you're sticking to half your body weight or anywhere between 40 and 90 ounces, you're golden.
When I came to fast, I came because I was having thyroid issues, and I actually within the 10-day period, and then I got tested afterwards. I had actually rectified the issue that I wanted to work on, so I was really happy with that. And now I'm doing this kind of like maintenance fasting. So, and then I see people that are, you know, maybe young and healthy, and they're doing like 5-day water fast at home, and then another one the next month, and then another one the next month. What do you think about some of that?
Yeah, so fasting has so many beautiful benefits. You know, I can't ever think about doing anything else in my medical profession, just because I literally see miracles every single day. So I'm putting that on paper because it is phenomenal. But the thing is, though, it is a treatment, right? And we really do treat it as such. And what I mean by that is that you can't fast forever, number one. And number two is there is diminished returns. And so what I mean by that is that while on a daily basis, because of our landscape today, if we went back 100 to 150 years, it wouldn't even be as probably important for us to do like quote unquote intermittent fasting. Maybe we would do just certain periods of time with less food, which is typically like an intermittent fast because of just what was happening in our environment. We never had all that access to food. But nowadays, you know, that is a very specific trying to help our bodies from all the excess that we have. When we think about long-term fasting, it really, it pushes the body into a very specific, it's called hormesis. And so it's a stress on the body. And it's a phenomenal physiological state. But the thing is that it's just like with anything, you don't want to push too hard and you don't want to push too long because you can actually cause harm. And so that goes back to your point in the sense that I have too seen patients where they come in and they're like, I want to do a 30-day fast, and that's what I want to do. And they'll actually push, they will actually maybe sometimes not report symptoms, or they will push their body because they have the idea that potentially longer is better, and it's not. It's about listening to the body. The body actually goes through stages of healing. So once you go through a stage of healing, your body's not going to need to be in that state anymore. And so that's when you can come out of a fast and actually get the most benefit out of it. You know, you don't need to be fasting every single week long term. So if you've done like say a 5 to 7 day fast, that's a prolonged fast. Anything past 3 days is prolonged. If you're doing that, you have to give your body time to replenish, and then you can actually go back into it if you need to within a quarter, you know. But I usually recommend, if you really are healthy and you have really no chronic illness, a 5 to 7 day fast is great once a year. You know, all you need is like once a year. I do a 5 to 7 day fast every year. That's my general cleanse. Just so you know, my boss, Alan Goldhammer, who created True North Health, he does a 4 day fast every year. So once you're in that zone of optimal health, you don't really need to push the envelope. And actually, it could be damaging to your system if you keep pushing the envelope. With the 24-hour fast that you're doing on a weekly basis, that's a little bit of a different scenario, because that is getting the body into a ketotic state where you're actually also getting a little bit of the autophagy, but you're not keeping in that hormesis long enough, and you're rebuilding on a constant basis. So there is a benefit, like I said, because of our modern lifestyle, to be in that state of abstinence.
Yeah. So, I mean, like what I'm hearing, the few things that I'm hearing is like being in this like right brain awareness, like where you're actually being receptive to what's going on in your body and not just making a decision with your left brain, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the 30 days or I'm going to do the 10 days. And even when your body transforms, not listening to it. And this importance between this kind of like breath of life that we're going through, and like allowing yourself to go through that process. And then the other thing that you mentioned there that I would love you to dive a little bit deeper is autophagy, because I think that people, you know, need to understand this process and why this is so important.
Yeah. It's actually, it's a fantastic, you know, actually for me, it illustrates how beautifully intelligent our bodies are. And it's kind of like a train that runs on firewood, if you think about it, right? If you are running along, if this train is running along and say you run out of firewood, you're going to take the things that are not so important. Like you're going to take maybe the chairs, throw them in the fire. You're going to take the pictures off the wall, throw them in the fire. And then very lastly, you might have to start ripping down the walls of the train to put it in the fire to keep that train running. Similarly, you can think of it as your cells too. So your cells, they're doing this process of breaking things down as you go along. The problem is that, again, if your ability to break down certain things becomes compromised because you're adding in so much more stuff, like say diet, you know, the standard American diet, stress has a way of impacting how we're able to detoxify even on a cellular level, whether or not you're sleeping or not. Whether or not you're happy, do you have a sense of purpose? Do you have a community, right? I mean, these are all things we now know through psychoneuroimmunology affect how the cell is able to do that. What autophagy is, it's a physiological process that happens when you do cold therapy, when you do water fasting, when you do sauna as well. That basically, and actually in certain types of exercise, like HIIT exercise also creates a little bit of autophagy. What happens is you put the cell into a certain amount of stress, which then allows for that process of recycling those materials. So throwing things in the fire, getting rid of them, detoxifying a cell actually becomes upregulated. So it means that it does a better job of that. And water fasting, the reason why that's been studied more than probably anything else that I just mentioned is because you can imagine when you actually do a water fast, what you're doing is you're actually not having any overload on the cells. And on top of it, you're allowing the cell to work a little bit better to get rid of and detoxify in the cell itself on a cellular basis. So.
That's great. I often refer to it like cleaning out your pantry.
Yes.
Like if you're going to the supermarket every week and you keep like buying more things and shoving them in the front of the pantry, like the pantry at the back's going to get a little bit moldy. So it's a case of like getting everything out of the pantry, checking the sell-by dates, working out what can be put into a soup, what needs to be thrown away, and then you've got a nice clean pantry and you can kind of like access it. So yeah. So I'm glad that kind of people can understand a little bit of the science behind fasting. And then the other things that I would love to speak a little bit about is like coming into the fast and coming out of the fast and why that's important.
If you can imagine, as if you're putting in processed food, if you're putting in artificial sweeteners, artificial additives, if you're putting in things that are made in a factory, so there's added starches, added all this other stuff, that is an added load on your digestive system. That is definitely, like we were talking about on the cellular basis, that is an added load even in the cellular realm. That's an added load on your kidneys, on your liver, detox pathways as well. So if you then go in and you just stop eating right away, it is like a jarring shift in your body, because then what's happening is what you start to do by hour 12 is you start to break down, right? Not only in autophagy, things that your body doesn't need anymore, but also fat cells. We store a lot of that in our fat cells as well. And so if you're breaking down a lot of that just at that moment, when you decided that you're just going to fast, it absolutely starts to create what we know as fasting side effects. So that's where people start to get major headaches. That's when people start to get nauseous. They start to vomit. They have imbalances within their hormones that happen, really quickly. You can get issues with digestive, like getting abdominal pain. Some people can go right into constipation as well. So it's a very tentative kind of period when you be right before a fast. And I think that if you're going to do it right, and if you're going to do it in a way that's going to support, it's really about allowing the body to kind of ease into that state of ketosis. And you do that by actually starting to prep it with the most whole food, plant-based, that's really easy on your digestion, that actually will start that detox process for you already. I mean, this is a side note that I just want to throw out there. The majority of the people that I talk to in telehealth, just getting them on whole food plant-based, I see people reversing chronic pain, diabetes. I see people reversing their high blood pressure where they don't even need to come into True North to do a water fast. So it's so powerful in and of its own to just start that process. That then preps the body. So once you're in a fast, your body is just able to move into that autophagy, move into that detox in such a much more seamless and much more beneficial way. And same thing out. Many people that end up in hospitals post fast when they do it themselves are people that do not refeed appropriately. And that's because if you think about it, if you shut down your digestive system, or if you actually change how your body is working on a physiological level, you have to bring it out slow. A fast is a really powerful internal cleanse, mind, body, soul, really, that when you're coming out of it, it's really important to also appreciate the body needs time to reignite that digestive fire, to start to release digestive enzymes, to help to digest different levels of caloric density foods. So it's really important to come out of it really slow as well.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I always think that, a lot of times what I see, especially with, the whole juice fasting thing became so popular. What I saw was people doing like 5-day juice fasts, and they would, be going to In-N-Out on the way there, pick up their 5-day juice fast. And it was like they were like holding on so tight. It was like they just had to get through the 5 days. It was almost like they were jumping off the cliff into kind of like muggy waters and trying to fight their way back to the shore, as opposed to like walking down to the beach, walking into the water, and then walking back out again. So it's like, this idea of struggling through it seems like the antithesis of what a fast should really be about. It should be more about relaxing and letting go and feeling free, as opposed to like holding on and just getting through it.
Yeah. Agreed.